Hello, my name is Jodi Low, and this is the Leadership Lowdown, powered by the BBB and You and Improved. The Leadership Lowdown cuts through the clutter and gets to the heart of what makes businesses tick. We want to share the stories that matter to you, all of the successes and triumphs and all of the pitfalls, and everything that happens in between. So with that, let's get on to today's show. Welcome to the Leadership Lowdown, and today I have a new friend that I have just met, but I think we're going to become fast friends, Bethany. This is amazing, Bethany Mock. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me,
Yeah,
Jodi.
so happy to have you here. So you have quite a unique and distinct resume from all that I've read about you. So tell us a little bit about all things Bethany and your journey into all the fun work that you do today.
Yeah, so I am maybe one of the few, but not far between on this podcast, I have a feeling, of Arizona natives.
Yeah, nice. You don't have many.
Love to be that and start with that. My career has been in Arizona nonprofits.
Okay.
And just really have a heart for the community that I grew up in and really wanted to find ways to continue to serve the people that I grew up with. So that has been where my career has led me to date. Within so many well-known organizations in this community, I've gotten to play really integral roles in a multitude of ways, whether that is direct service to community through programs, fund development to further people's missions within organizations. But ultimately, every path leads me down just a connection to community, which is where my heart lies, which is just a passion for people. And hearing and sharing stories similar to what you're doing here.
No, I love that. I love it. So was there something in your childhood or in your education, like what led you to what you do?
Yeah, so it's so funny you ask because I never realized that you could make a career in nonprofit.
Okay.
I think growing up, my mom was on she was the president of a board of directors for a local nonprofit.
Okay.
We were also very involved in a church community growing up, so we did a lot of volunteer service. But I only thought of it as volunteer service. Yeah. So it was something that we did for school projects or on the weekends or, with a team or with a community. Yeah. But I loved getting to work with people and for a cause. Yeah. Really. Helping people, I think, is at my heart, really what fills my cup. Yeah. It wasn't until I went to college that I even explored opportunities to do that as a career or as a profession.
Interesting.
So it was then when I learned about the systems and structures to actually running those organizations are a lot further than just having a board of directors or having some volunteerism tied to it. Yeah. I think around that time is also when there was a big shift with corporations doing a lot more corporate social responsibility.
Yes.
And so a lot more give back was being integrated into for-profit organizations as well. Yep. And so for me, it's so funny. I started out really wanting to go into sports broadcasting and really had a heart for athletics and like the ties to athlete stories in the communities. But I found myself continuing to spend my weekends volunteering. I think the most impactful interactions that I had during that time was I was working on a farm on the border of Tijuana. I went to school in San Diego. Okay. And the families who were there were getting to learn skills that they could go then use for like workforce and career development. Sure. But they were also getting to go home with the food that they grew. And so for them and like seeing the direct impact that experience had on their personal lives, but also like professional lives as well, felt really good. Yeah. And then also just being tied to like an organization that was really mission focused. I was like, I want more of this. Yeah. And so that is kind of how I got into this world. I came home. I knew I always wanted to be in Arizona.
Okay. So that was an easy choice.
Yeah. But then immediately just looking for those organizations that I already had ties to or that stood out in the community that were really having impact here at home for me is where I got started and kind of how that all tied in to connect for me.
I love that. So sort of seeing your mom in that space led you to kind of be open to the experience of that, but then really digging into it in terms of your education as well then? Is that where you got your degree?
So my degree is actually, I have a bachelor's in communication studies with a minor in leadership and nonprofit management studies.
Oh, love it. Okay.
So it was around that time that there was a shift to also having more than just a certification tied to it, but an actual study program. Yeah. Something that for me was really fun and I didn't realize was like a big deal at the time was that I actually got to be an instructor as an undergraduate leading an undergraduate course for the School of Leadership and Education Studies at the University of San Diego, leading an Introduction to Leadership course. So for first-year students, for their first experiences, ties to community, and understanding that leadership is something more than just a title or a role. It's something that there is a study behind. Getting to present that to them in an academic setting was so much fun for me. And again, I knew that in my college journey too, that had never been presented to me outside of, you know, someone being like, oh, I work at organization. This is my title. This is my role.
Right.
That's a leadership role.
Yes.
I never knew it was something that you could study.
Yeah.
Or there was a science behind it or any of those things.
I love that. Well, we both share a passion for leadership, and I love hearing that because I do also feel like there's so much more education now, even, you know, than when I was in school. Obviously, I'm a fossil compared to you. But, you know, there's just so much more depth and breadth of how you know, the different degrees that you can get. And I love that you were able to dig deep and study that and find that passion at such a young age. And so as you got into the work world and into your career, were there certain things that, whether it was a mentor or a class or an experience that really shaped you to find your specific niches of what you really love the most? Yeah,
I think from, you know, starting my career in nonprofit, I've always been typically on development teams.
Okay.
And typically development teams work closely with a board of directors or a committee of members of the board of directors. So I've always really felt like I've had a direct tie to people whose professions might not be a nonprofit, but they were really had a heart for making an impact.
Yeah.
And so for me, seeing them as leaders, maybe in their industries, in different areas in the community, all coming together for a cause is really what fired me up. Where I was like, okay, I know Jodi is a champion for something else outside of this.
Right.
But while she's here, she loves our mission.
Yeah.
And I love that about Jodi.
Yeah.
And so for me, being able to hear people's personal stories and what tied them to our missions is really what connected me to those individuals. So I think throughout the different organizations I've been at, I've always looked for people's why. You know, what brought you here? There are some people too that you'll find, you know, they are, you know, doing this out of service with their companies or like an obligation of service to an organization. But I think the people that sparkle the most or that stand out the most are really the people who have a personal connection to the mission.
Absolutely.
And I love hearing those stories.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's who I look to in terms of leadership. It's not always someone who has a title or a role within an organization. A little bit more on thought leadership, if you would. But finding those people and making connections to those people and then being able to loop it back into a mission is ultimately where I've, you know, gotten to see leadership across multiple organizations. Again, also people who are in leadership roles, who have had more tenure with organizations, who have had an impact with these organizations as well. But I think that the people in the strongest relationships that I've been able to build are really tied to those personal stories and hearing people's why.
Yeah.
And that, for me, really lights me up. And that's what I think of when I think of a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love that. And I love that you couple that so beautifully with storytelling, because even as we produce this show, the biggest thing that I think is so imperative is learning from other people's leadership journeys. And when you hear the why, when you hear the reason, when you hear just how people get to where they are and like the struggles and the triumphs and all of those things that create that robust, beautiful fabric of their journey. It's like, that's to me the same thing. It lights me up. So for you personally, was there a part of the journey that was really pivotal for you? I mean, obviously, you know, you're young, you know, and you know, have obviously lots of experience already in your young career, but have there been certain things that were like, wow, that was a monumental moment that created a big shift for me?
Yeah, well, I think I can pinpoint within different organizations too where each of those moments were.
Okay.
I think as I've journeyed with multiple organizations, I look for that little spark of a moment. I think the first organization that I was with, I was directly able to hear stories from the people we were serving. And so that was at UMOM New Day Centers. And I was able to meet some of the people who were living in our shelters at the time, hearing their stories, and then being able to take those stories, translate them, and then share them with the community to be like, hey, this is Ashley. Here's Ashley's experience with this. But then also being able to advocate and speak on behalf of an individual and be like, the impact that you're making with an organization is helping people like Ashley.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it really started for me, but understanding that I can engage with diverse stakeholders and really articulate the direct impact and contribution that individuals have across a multitude of levels to an organization's mission. From there, I think that the next organization I was at, I was by far the youngest one there. Foothills Caring Corps is a senior serving organization up in Carefree, up in the foothills.
Okay.
And so for me there, it was just seeing these individuals who are so still vibrant and young at heart, engaging with someone like me who is very much a young professional.
Yeah.
And I think when I joined that team, there were a lot of people who really stuck with doing things the way that they'd been doing them, because that's the way they'd always done them.
Right.
And I come in with, you know, my pens and my markers and my colors, and I'm like, hear me out.
Yeah.
What if we did it a new way?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. We kind of like it this way. And I'm like, but it could be a little bit more fun.
Right.
We could engage with people in a different way. You know, this is always going to be a need. Aging in place is something that will always happen. We all get older every single day.
Right, right.
And sometimes it takes a new and fresh perspective from someone who might not be positioned in a role to be considered a leader.
Yeah. Yeah.
To come in and do things in a different color or in a different shape or in a different way.
Yes.
To help change and better shape the trajectory of an organization.
I love that. And you are really the epitome of a disruptor, which I love. You come in and you go, hey, how do we look at things a little differently or create a different lens? Because to your point, we can become very myopic in our way of leading and the way of doing things. And that becomes obviously for so many people, the comfort zone or the comfort zone of the company, or becomes the culture becomes stagnant because of it. So I love that you can kind of come in and say, what if?
Yeah, I know.
I love that. I love that. In your journey thus far, has there been a mentor or someone that's really stood out that either took you under their wing or that you just really learned so much from specifically?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think in this chapter of my life, I am really reevaluating what it takes to be considered a mentor. I think previously the narrative that I had was that it had to be very formal. You know, it had to be a mutual agreement between you and somebody else who was further along in their journey, and they really committed to meeting with you and checking in with you and helping you accomplish these goals. And I think in this chapter of my life, I'm realizing I have had so many incredible mentors who might not even know that they've been mentors for me.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I think reevaluating who I consider to be a mentor, these are people who say my name in rooms of opportunity. These are people who think of me and I'm on the forefront of their mind when there is a chance to make an impact for change. I think someone who comes to mind is Melody Lewis. She's the founder of Indigenous Community Collaborative, which is a Native organization that uplifts and empowers Indigenous business owners.
Wow.
My journey with Melody actually started with the State 48 Foundation. She was one of the original grant recipients through our Entrepreneur Grants program. Throughout that time, I got to know her business. She also came on to be a speaker for one of our programs through our Entrepreneur Speaker Series. And ultimately now she's actually on our board of directors. And so I've gotten to know her in attachment to the organization in that many ways. But as I've gotten to know her too, she is such a pillar in this community and a light and a leader in so many ways beyond what I could ever imagine that are even just outside of my scope of view. So every time I see her where I'm like, did you just receive another award?
Right.
Were you just in New Zealand for something? She's like, I was a speaker at a conference. I received the Athena Award. I'm like,
love.
And to me, you're just Melody, who I'm going to pick up the phone every time I need to talk through something. Right. Because I have a working relationship with you. But she's someone who I think I've really come to terms with and reflected on. And I've had conversations with her about this too, where I'm like, no, you really are a mentor to me. You are someone that I look up to. You're someone I know I can rely on. I know that you're someone who cares about contributing to helping me grow and learn. But you're also someone who speaks my name in rooms of opportunity. You're someone who's always going to want to amplify and uplift my experience and help me along my journey. So I think she's the first person who comes to mind.
That comes to mind.
When I think of someone who's a mentor for me.
I love that. Did you have that in your personal life too, in terms of your family? Because obviously you said your mom was, in leadership roles that you saw. So was there anyone in your personal life that was that for you?
It's so interesting because I think too, the relationship that I have with both of my parents now as an adult, I've been able to reflect where I'm like, both of my parents were working parents. I'm the oldest of 4. And so I've always known my parents as very career-driven individuals. And it's funny because I'll talk to my siblings about this and they're like, mom was always a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, you do realize she was also like the the president of a board of directors. She was very involved in philanthropic organizations throughout our whole community. She was the leader of the yearbook. She was also classroom mom for 4 different classrooms.
Wow.
So I think that she's really a leader there. But even now, understanding too that my dad was doing so much more behind the scenes, where I'm like, Dad, how did we do all these things? He's like, because I worked really hard.
Yeah.
And so I think too, I look to my dad as a mentor and really where I get a lot of my work ethic from, you know, being able to start early, stay late, see projects through to their completion, but also just really caring about people and relationships and knowing that business is so much more than transactional. It really is relational. Yeah. And so that's something that I think I learned from my dad, where it's like, you know what, I know, you know, this person in contexts of we do business together, but I also know if I pick up the phone and call them, that they're going to answer. Yeah. And they're going to help me find a connection to the community and in a way beyond how just we do business together. I love that. And it is such a people-centered world, and the relationships are key. I love that. Well, as I shared with you before we even started today, so I have a series of some fun questions that I love to ask our guests that really just share a little bit more about you and your personality and who you are. So with that, first question is, what is your favorite word? Ooh, I would say Kismet right now. Ooh, okay. Talk to us about why that one. Okay, Kismet is like, my understanding of Kismet or my experience with it is like fate or serendipitous or not quite by chance or coincidence, but Kismet. Yeah. And it's just something that has been on my mind a lot lately. I like it. Where is this coming from? This seems like a really good Scrabble word. But like finding a K in that bag, that's a lot of letters. That's a lot of letters. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. I love that one. Is there a least favorite word? Ooh. I don't know if it's word or phrase, but have to. People are like, oh, I have to. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Says who? Yeah. You get to. Yeah. You can choose to. Yeah. You don't have to. Right. That's a big one for me. I'm with you on that one. Get to is a lot more powerful. Yeah. 100%. What would you say for you turns you on creatively, spiritually, emotionally? Like what just lights you up? Ooh, I love being in community. Okay. Honestly, that is the extrovert in me. I love being around people. And I'm sure that I have so much energy that comes from my own self and my own soul. Yeah. And that is what like attracts me to other people like that. But anytime I have with other people and just hearing them light up and talk about their passions, and we get to build on that with each other, I think is what lights me up creatively, energetically, mentally. Yeah. I think being in conversation, being in community, and getting to engage with people is really like where that spark comes from. Yeah, that's the light. That's what lights you up. So, are there times for you as an extrovert where you have to have that recharge, or do you find when you're around people too much that you need to be quiet too, or are you just all people all the time? No, so it is something that I'm recognizing that like I'll have to do a little bit of a debrief with myself sometimes. I am such like a tangible visual person that I have to write things down. Okay. So I will come away where I'm like, okay, what were my action items? What were this? But also recognizing that not every interaction has to come with takeaways. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it just is what it is. Yeah, just an interaction. We're just together to be together. Yeah. But I think for me mentally too, like I am someone who likes to think I can do everything all the time. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll forget. Yeah. And so I have to write it down. Yes. And then I'm like, wait, this is in my notebook somewhere. Yeah. Let me flip back and find this page. Now, are you a pen to paper person, or are you a type it in my phone notes? So it's so funny. I am both. Okay. I am the kind of person who I absolutely have a notebook in my purse right now with different colors and Post-it notes and highlights on every single page. Yeah. But I'm also the kind of person who I'm like, okay, let me just jot it down in a note on my phone. Yeah. I'm also the kind of person who wants to have a shared Word doc that I send with everyone where I'm like, okay, here's what we're doing all the time. And they're like, my gosh, can you just like choose one spot? And I'm like, no. You're like, but that's so boring. Yeah. And I'm like, but I have to write it down in 3 places, I'm sure. Right. Multiple spots. I hear you on that. So what turns you off? Ooh, I think on the same notion of like, the words I don't like have to, or an obligation where someone's like, you really have to do this, where I'm like, yeah, no. I think most of the things in my life I choose to do. Yeah. And I get to do. Yeah. And I like to position that more as opportunity than obligation. I like anytime my perspective shifts where I'm like, ugh, I have to, or it's an obligation, like someone's telling me I have to do that. Yeah. That's really, I think, where my brain goes off and I'm like, ugh. And I think too, now I have the the opportunity to also articulate that and let people know that where I'm like, hey, listen, like, this is just not feeling energetically aligned for me right now.
Yeah, just not feeling it. Are you a real gut, visceral person where you're just like, I feel it, and you trust and lean into that?
Yeah, I'm really working on that more now.
Yeah.
I think previously where I was like, it's the right thing to do. I want to show up for people. I want them to show up for me. I'm going to do it anyway. But also just taking accountability and responsibility for how I show up to each of those things now. The energy that I'm bringing into a room where I'm like, hey, listen, Jodi invited me to her birthday party, and I love Jodi, and I really want to show up for her. But if I'm going to show up and be a sourpuss the whole time, like, that's not fun and celebratory. And like, who wants that person at their birthday party?
Right.
So I think leaning into that and, if I'm feeling it, we'll go to the birthday party, sure.
Yeah.
But if not, I'll be like, hey, Jodi, I'm going to make you a special cupcake on a different day, and we're going to hang out, and it'll be way more fun.
Right.
Than me showing up for that person and like not being in a good headspace or having a good energy to bring to that.
Yeah. Well, it's leaning into the other person as well as yourself. And I love that. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, I honestly love the ambient noise of being at a baseball game. That is like, so silly and random for me. I love that. Will have on sports in the background at home. I think it's great to have the commentators on sometimes, but just the ambient noise of a crowd at a game, the baseball hitting the bat, like,
you just love that.
Yeah.
Did you play softball, baseball? Is that
no? So I did not play myself, but I have two younger brothers who played Little League all growing up. So being at the baseball field is like very homey for me. And then also when I was in college, I actually hosted a sports show.
Fun.
So getting to work with a lot of our athletics teams, and then even into my early professional career, I got to work with the Diamondbacks a little bit and do some games there. So I think that to me too is
kind
just
of
like a comfort sound.
Feels good. Yeah. Because you mentioned a lot with athletics and sports. So were you an athlete growing up yourself, or was it just being around sports?
It's funny. I danced growing up, which is still an athletic endeavor, but it wasn't until I was an adult. I actually trained and previously competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So cool.
Which is like not a traditional athletics kind of sphere. So I never considered myself an athlete until someone within the past few years was like, you do realize that you're an athlete in this sport. And I was like, oh,
yeah, I guess I am. I love that.
I was like, wait a minute. So now as an adult, I get to be an athlete.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I was always the one who, out of the four of us, who was not an athlete.
Got it. You were there cheering everybody on, but not necessarily.
I was a really great cheerleader. I was very studious. I was very involved in church, school, community, everything else, but like not playing the sports.
Yes. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you not like?
Ooh. I would probably lean towards silence. Like, I don't love when it's absolutely quiet. I'm learning to lean in a little bit more to the stillness of being quiet.
Yeah.
But again, I'm someone who like is very much on the go, and I love being in community. And so just that buzz of even being at a coffee shop or in community, I love that ambient noise.
Yeah.
And so it's funny now, especially working in a hybrid role and having opportunities to work from home, where I'm like, oh, I haven't said a word all day. I haven't spoke. Like, why am I not listening to music? Why is there no noise on? It's eerie to me.
Interesting.
It feels empty. And then I'm like, okay, wait, why would I choose quiet when I could also choose not quiet?
Right. You're like, when I can have something going on the baseball game.
I can turn on the baseball game. I can turn on a really great playlist. And it's interesting, too, just noticing how my mood shifts with that, too, where I'm like, I put on a good playlist. And I'm like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Why was I sitting in quiet for all morning?
Right.
Like, this is so much better.
I love that. That's hilarious. So if you think about, your life and career up until this point, is there a profession that you don't necessarily have the skills for it, but that you were like, ooh, I would love to do that?
Ooh. Something I would love to do. I would love to be a creative director. I think working with like creatives and like artistic visionaries is something I really enjoy. I think I've been in roles that I've had a really great opportunity to balance both my artistic brain and my logistics brain.
Yeah.
I think I would love to lean into doing a lot more creative ideas and execution, visual arts things.
I love that.
That is definitely not the trajectory of what I'm doing, though.
Yeah.
But every time I get to work with people in that sphere, I love it so much. They're like, you should do this. And I'm like, we got to reevaluate what I got going on.
Yeah,
but
maybe,
it's fine
maybe.
because I
know,
think
right?
too, like I will try to find ways to supplement that personally too, where I'm like, I love a good arts and crafts moment. I love a good DIY visual thing. So I'm like incorporating a lot more of that into personal fulfillment.
Yes.
Even though I know that like professionally, probably not going to be a creative director.
But I love the fact that, but you bring up a good point, because it's something that I always share with people. It's like, if there's a part of you that there's a passion that you have, but you don't nurture it, it's like a plant. You don't give it water, it dies, right? So there's that piece of you that gets fulfilled by that, or needs that, or loves that. So I love that you find other ways to express that or fulfill that for yourself. So
thank you.
That's what matters. It doesn't matter if it's professionally or not. Is there a profession where you think about it and you go, oh gosh, like I could never do that?
Probably anything with like numbers or finances. Oh
yeah, you and me, girl.
No. I'm like, That is a different kind of smart. And I'll tell people that too, where I'm like,
different kind of smart.
Thank you for being able to be this kind of smart, because that's not me.
Yeah.
I have a wide range of skill sets, and this is not one of them.
That is.
I am really proud of myself for learning some like really fundamental ways on how to use Excel. But I'm like, I would much rather make this a list with like some color coordination and stuff. And they're like, that this can do like numeric formulas. And I was like, that,
yeah.
Math?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, I'm with you 100%. I'm like, math, IT, any of that? No, outsource all of that. Thank you. Got to stay in your zone.
Yeah.
Your zone of genius. So I love that you're like, nope, we'll find someone to help with that.
Yeah.
That's not my thing. So if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ooh. This is something that my grandpa would say to my mom and would say to me.
Okay.
But you done good.
Aww.
And that's so fun. Again, Kismet.
Yeah.
I was not wearing this shirt this morning. This is my grandpa's shirt. And he's the one who would say that. I definitely spilled coffee on my shirt and changed my shirt this morning.
Oh my God. And I love the emotion and the vulnerability, because that's everything I love in humanity. So thank you. How beautiful. Yeah, that's literally your grandpa's shirt.
Yeah. Isn't that so sweet?
That is like, really.
This is like oversized. It's not the vibe I was going for the outfit. But I was like, you know what? It's fine. That's why it's in the closet, is so that I wear it. Ugh.
Love. Okay. Kismet is your word right now. You are in that space. I love that. I love that. Oh, meant to be. So to wrap us up today, this is obviously the Leadership Lowdown. So I love to capture any word of wisdom, or, we've got listeners, viewers from all different walks of life, different accredited businesses. What would you say is something that's made an impact for you, or that you would love to share with them as just a little leave behind in terms of your journey?
Okay. I'm going to wipe these real quick.
Yeah, wipe away, girl.
Well, you're okay for my impactful moment to be tears running down my face also. That's okay.
It's all good.
Impactful moment, I think, for me, something that I really strive for, and will reiterate to other people, is a Maya Angelou quote. And again, I'm sure this is not the full quote, but is to, when you know better, to do better. And that's my thing, is that you do the best you can with what you have. Yeah. And then when you know better, you do better, or you strive to do better. Yeah. And I think that speaks to growth, that speaks to change, that speaks to challenge. But it ultimately speaks to character. And I think that we're all just wanting to do our best and give everyone our best, and do good. I love that. What a beautiful, beautiful way to wrap up an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for being here. Jodi. I love, love, love sharing this time with you. And I'm sure our viewers and listeners did as well. So thank you, Bethany. Appreciate you being here. Absolutely. This has been the Leadership Lowdown with the amazing Bethany Mock. And with that, this has been the Leadership Lowdown. Appreciate you being with us. Remember, leaders are learners. So stay curious and keep leading with love.